Can you believe we're actually having this conversation? After everything Morgan Rielly has given to this franchise, after all those years of loyalty and dedication, are the Toronto Maple Leafs really considering trading away their longest-serving player? The answer might shock you, and it's sending shockwaves to the entire hockey community right now. This story hits differently because it's not about a player who suddenly became terrible overnight. Morgan Rielly was once the golden boy of Toronto's blue line. Remember that absolutely magnificent 72-point explosion in 2018-19? That wasn't just good. That was elite-level production that had fans dreaming of Stanley Cup parades. Even as recently as 2021-22, Rielly was putting up impressive 68-point seasons, looking every bit like the franchise defenseman Toronto thought they had locked up long-term. But here's where the story takes a heartbreaking turn. Consistency has become Rielly's kryptonite. At 31 years old, this should be Rielly's prime years, yet fans are witnessing a player who seems to be trapped between two different versions of himself. One night, he's controlling the game like a master conductor, making plays that remind everyone why he was so highly regarded. But the very next game, it's like watching a completely different player, hesitant, ineffective, and frustratingly invisible when the team needs him most. This Jekyll and Hyde performance pattern isn't just frustrating for fans. It's become a legitimate problem for a team desperately trying to break decades of championship drought. When you're paying a defenseman $7.5 million annually, you need reliability, not mystery. The trade scenarios that could change everything despite Rielly's no-trade clause protection. 3 potential blockbuster deals are emerging that could be impossible for both player and organization to ignore. Each represents a completely different gamble on Toronto's future. This potential trade reads like a Hollywood script, and honestly, it might be the most emotionally charged deal in recent Maple Leafs history. Nazem Kadri, the homegrown talent who was Toronto's 7th overall pick in 2009, has spent years proving that trading him was a massive mistake. Since leaving Toronto in 2019, Kadri has been nothing short of spectacular. That incredible 87-point Stanley Cup championship season with Colorado in 2021-22 wasn't just impressive. It was a direct slap in the face to the organization that gave up on him. Even now in Calgary, he's still producing at an elite level with 67 points last season, including a career-high 35 goals that prove he's far from finished. The financial mathematics work beautifully here. Kadri's $7 million salary versus Rielly's $7.5 million creates virtually no salary cap complications. But the real genius of this trade lies in addressing Toronto's most glaring weakness: center depth beyond Austin Matthews and John Tavares. Imagine the ripple effects of bringing Kadri back. He could anchor the second line, allowing Tavares to shift a wing, or creating the deepest center rotation in the entire league. This isn't just about acquiring talent. It's about fixing fundamental roster construction flaws that have plagued this team for years. Sometimes the most effective trades are the ones where both teams solve each other's problems simultaneously. Darnell Nurse represents the complete opposite of Morgan Rielly's playing style, and that contrast might be exactly what both Toronto and Edmonton need. Where Rielly relies on finesse and offensive creativity, Nurse brings old-school physicality and defensive reliability. He's the type of player who throws bone-crushing hits, blocks shots with reckless abandon, and still manages to contribute meaningful offensive production. His $9.25 million salary creates financial complications, but Edmonton retaining salary could make this work. The strategic implications are fascinating. Toronto has already strengthened their defense with additions like Chris Tanev and Oliver Ekman-Larsson. So adding Nurse would create an absolutely terrifying defensive core. Meanwhile, Edmonton will receive the offensive blue line creativity they desperately need to complement Evan Bouchard. This trade represents a philosophical shift toward defensive-first hockey. Instead of trying to outscore every problem, Toronto will be building an impenetrable wall that opposing offenses simply cannot break down. Buckle up for this one, because we're talking about potentially the most audacious trade in recent Maple Leafs history. Erik Karlsson, the 3-time Norris Trophy winner who somehow managed to score 101 points just 2 seasons ago, could be available as Pittsburgh embraces a full rebuild. The risks are absolutely enormous. Karlsson is 35 years old. His recent Pittsburgh performance has been inconsistent, and his $11.5 million salary for the next 2 years will require Toronto to add significant pieces like Nick Robertson to balance the finances. This trade could either be genius or complete disaster. There's no middle ground. But consider the potential rewards. We're talking about a generational talent whose hockey IQ and offensive instincts don't simply vanish overnight. When Karlsson is healthy and motivated, he operates on a level that no current Maple Leafs player can match. His power play quarterbacking and transition game could single-handedly transform Toronto's entire offensive identity. This isn't just acquiring a player. It's making a statement that Toronto is willing to risk everything during their current competitive window, regardless of future consequences. These potential trades represent much more than simple player swaps. They're about defining what kind of organization the Toronto Maple Leafs want to become. Each option tells a completely different story about their championship aspirations. General Manager Brad Treliving wasn't speaking in code when he mentioned needing to change the DNA of this team after their latest playoff disappointment. Those words were a clear warning that significant changes are inevitable, and even beloved franchise cornerstones like Morgan Rielly might not be safe anymore. The harsh reality facing Toronto is that championship windows don't remain open indefinitely. Matthews, Marner, and the current core are in their absolute prime right now, and every season that passes without meaningful playoff success increases the pressure to make dramatic moves. Sometimes those moves require sacrificing emotional attachments for organizational improvement. The clock is ticking louder than ever before. Toronto's fan base has endured decades of heartbreak, and their patience for gradual improvement is completely exhausted. Bold action isn't just preferred anymore, it's demanded. The Morgan Rielly situation has evolved beyond simple trade speculation. It's become a referendum on Toronto's entire approach to building a championship roster. Whether they choose a nostalgic reunion with Kadri, the defensive makeover with Nurse, or the high-stakes gamble with Karlsson, one thing is crystal clear. Standing still is no longer an option. This organization has reached a critical crossroads, where every decision could determine whether they finally break their Stanley Cup drought or waste another year of their core's prime. The pressure is immense, the stakes are enormous, and the consequences will reverberate for years to come. What's your take on this absolutely wild situation? Which of these three potential trades has you most excited or most terrified? Are you ready to see Morgan Rielly in a different uniform? Or should Toronto find another way to shake things up? Let me know your thoughts in the comments below. And don't forget to hit that like button if you think it's time for the Maple Leafs to make some serious moves this offseason. Because trust me, this story is just getting started.